From a small Anatolian beylik to a vast empire spanning 3 continents, the story of the Ottoman Empire is one of incredible ambition, stunning conquests, and eventual, dramatic decline. For over 600 years, its sultans ruled over a diverse tapestry of peoples, cultures, and religions, leaving an indelible mark on world history. So, how did they do it? And what led to the downfall of one of history's most powerful empires? Let's find out. Our story begins in the late 13th century, in the chaotic aftermath of the Seljuk Sultanate's collapse. Various Turkish principalities or beyliks vied for control in Anatolia. Among them was a small state led by a chieftain named Osman I, while shrouded in some mystery. Osman and his successors were masters of strategy and opportunity. They weren't just warriors, they were state builders. By attracting Ghazi's warriors for the faith and incorporating conquered territories, the Ottoman beylik began to expand rapidly. Under Osman's son, Orhan, the Ottomans crossed into Europe for the first time, capturing key cities and establishing a permanent foothold. His successor, Murad I, established the elite Janissary Corps, a professional army of soldiers taken as boys from Christian families in the Balkans, converted, and raised to be fiercely loyal only to the Sultan. This formidable fighting force became the backbone of Ottoman military might for centuries. Murad also moved the capital to Adarn in Europe, signaling the empire's continental ambitions. The Ottomans were no longer just an Anatolian power. They were a European one, and they were here to stay. The 15th century brought both near disaster and ultimate triumph. The devastating invasion by Timur in 1402 shattered the Ottoman army and led to a decade-long civil war among Murad's grandsons. It seemed the empire might crumble before it truly began, but it recovered, and in 1453, one of the most pivotal events in world history occurred. The 22-year-old Sultan Mehmed II, known as the Conqueror, achieved what many had thought impossible: the conquest of Constantinople. Using massive cannons that pulverized the city's legendary walls, Mehmed II rode into the heart of the Byzantine Empire. He renamed the city Istanbul and made it the new capital of his own growing empire. The fall of Constantinople sent shockwaves across Europe and cemented the Ottoman Empire as a dominant world power. The century that followed the conquest of Istanbul is often called the Ottoman Golden Age. Under sultans like Selim Aya, who conquered Egypt and the holy cities of Mecca and Medina, the empire became the leader of the Islamic world. But it was under Selim's son, Suleiman I, known in the West as the Magnificent and in the East as the Lawgiver, that the empire reached its zenith. Suleiman's reign, from 1520 to 1566, was a period of immense territorial expansion, legal reform, and cultural flourishing. His armies marched deep into Europe, laying siege to Vienna itself. His navy, commanded by the brilliant Admiral Barbarossa, Hiruddin Pasha, dominated the Mediterranean Sea. From Hungary to the Persian Gulf, from North Africa to the Caucasus, the Ottoman flag flew supreme. But it wasn't just about military might. Istanbul became a global center of art, architecture, science, and literature. The master architect Mimar Sinan designed hundreds of breathtaking mosques, bridges, and palaces, many of which still stand today, testaments to the empire's wealth and sophistication. Suleiman's legal code, the Konan, standardized laws across his vast and diverse empire, creating a system that would endure for generations. So, if the empire was so powerful, what went wrong? As with all great empires, the seeds of decline were sown even at its peak. After Suleiman, a series of less capable sultans came to the throne. The practice of keeping potential heirs locked away in the palace, known as the cage system, often produced rulers who were inexperienced and ill-equipped for the complexities of governance. Palace intrigued, and the growing influence of the harem and court officials began to weaken the central authority of the Sultan. Militarily, the Janissaries, once the empire's greatest strength, became its liability. They resisted modernization, staged revolts for higher pay, and became a powerful political force that often stood in the way of necessary reforms. The empire's technological and military edge over Europe began to erode. The defeat at the Second Siege of Vienna in 1683 marked a crucial turning point. From then on, the Ottomans were largely on the defensive, gradually losing territory in the Balkans to the rising powers of Austria and Russia. Economically, the discovery of new sea routes to Asia by European powers bypassed the traditional land routes controlled by the Ottomans, reducing their trade revenue. The influx of silver from the Americas caused massive inflation, disrupting the economy. The capitulations trade agreements that gave European merchants special privileges and tax exemptions within the empire, gave foreign powers increasing economic and political leverage. Throughout the 18th and 19th centuries, the empire faced an existential crisis. It became known as the sick man of Europe. The rise of nationalism, an idea imported from Europe, was particularly devastating. One by one, ethnic groups within the empire, Greeks, Serbs, Bulgarians, Romanians, began to demand and fight for independence, often with the backing of European powers eager to carve up Ottoman territory in a desperate attempt to save the state. A series of reforms known as the Tanzimat were initiated in the mid-19th century. These reforms aimed to modernize the army, the administration, and the economy, and to create a common Ottoman identity to counteract nationalism. But it was too little, too late. The reforms were met with resistance from conservative elements, and were ultimately unable to stop the empire's fragmentation. The final blow came with World War I. The Ottoman Empire allied with Germany and the Central Powers. After a brutal and costly war, they were on the losing side. The victorious allies occupied Istanbul and carved up the empire's remaining territories. But from the ashes of the empire, a new movement arose. Led by a brilliant and determined army officer named Mustafa Kemal, the Turkish national movement fought a war of independence against the occupying forces. In 1922, the last Ottoman sultan was deposed, and the 600-year-old empire officially came to an end. A year later, in 1923, the Republic of Turkey was declared, with Mustafa Kemal, now known as or Father of the Turks, as its first president. From a small Turkish tribe to a world-spanning empire, the Ottoman legacy is complex and enduring. It was a bridge between East and West, a multicultural state that, for centuries, governed a vast and diverse population. Its art, architecture, cuisine, and laws left a lasting impact on the many nations that emerged from its domain. The story of its rise and fall is a timeless lesson in power, ambition, and the inevitable currents of history. Thanks for watching. If you found this journey through history interesting, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel for more explorations of the past. Let me know in the comments which empire you'd like to see us cover next. See you in the next video.